Today in the Daily Dose, the Dodd Frank Act. After years of improper regulation by federal banking oversight agencies, the deceptive practice of bundling subprime and prime debt obligations into mortgage-backed securities resulted in a cascading, domino-like failure throughout Wall Street and later world economies, leading to what is now known as the Great Recession. During its buildup to disaster, powerful Wall Street banks began to feel the pinch of a collapsing American housing market prompted by a staggering rise in foreclosures caused by deceptive lending practices that gave high-dollar home loans to unqualified borrowers. The downward spiral reached its peak in September of 2008, when Lehman Brothers, the fourth largest investment bank in the United States, collapsed under the weight of an insurmountable bad debt crisis.
Down 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
What in the world is happening on Wall Street?
Two-year no yields went from 190 to 166 in the blink of an eye.
On the NASDAQ, everything and more has been completely wiped out.
It was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
Traders here working the phone say a lot of their customers are freaked out, waiting to see how low the Dow will go. They're focused on the Dow, not so focused on OPEC. Yes, OPEC did cut production by 1.5 million barrels per day.
Really, you're seeing just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors. Apple's under pressure.
In the aftermath of the Great Recession, in 2010, President Barack Obama signed into law the Dodd Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, otherwise known as Dodd Frank, in an effort to protect American consumers from future abusive and unethical practices by American mortgage lenders, as well as a vast array of restrictions placed on Wall Street. Spearheaded by Senator Chris Dodd of Connecticut and Representative Barney Frank of Massachusetts, the bill represents the federal government's most substantial financial reform legislation since the Glass-Steagall Act that resulted from the Great Depression. Dodd-Frank includes hundreds of pages of legislation imposing reforms on 16 major areas of banking and Wall Street practices, including an increase in the amount of money a bank is required to hold in reserve in anticipation of future economic downturns, while banks with assets greater than $50 billion now undergo an annual stress test by the Federal Reserve designed to challenge the bank's survivability in a simulated financial crisis. Dodd-Frank also created several new federal oversight agencies intended to protect consumers and prevent another mass failure like the Great Recession, while the later Volcker Rule Amendment forbids banks from making certain investments within their own accounts, making Dodd-Frank a still hotly debated safety net for the American consumer. And there you have it, the Dodd Frank Act, today in the Daily Dose. If you enjoyed this short educational video, consider giving the filmmakers a YouTube super thanks from as little as $1, so that you too can feed the filmmakers who feed your brain.